Hello, my name is Josh. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I've recently been through a divorce. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about what I would probably consider to be the most important lesson that I learned through the divorce and the healing process. There's a lot of ways of putting it, but one that is probably the most common in our culture is a saying that you'll hear people from AA often say. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it goes, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. There is a lot of power and wisdom in that saying. Simply put, for me, how I translate that is I need to figure out what I have control over, what I don't have control over, and then spend my time on the things that I can control. So in the divorce process, how does that work, right? I can't control if my spouse or former spouse loves me. I have no control over that. So I can't try to control it. And any attempt to control it is going to be not good, probably manipulation at best, if not worse. But what I can control is the kind of person I want to become. During the divorce process, I have no control over what my spouse or former spouse says to other people, whether that's true or whether it's not. But I can control what I say to people. I can control the integrity that I have. I can control trying to be wise in who I tell things to and who I don't tell things to. Another thing that I remember thinking, I have no control with the way that my former spouse or soon-to-be former spouse speaks to me or communicates with me. That, it doesn't matter if your former spouse or soon-to-be a former spouse is rude and nasty. I get to control how I communicate. I get to control how I communicate with everyone, including my former spouse. So if my former spouse is mean and nasty, I can choose to not respond in that way. I can choose to try to live a value in myself that says I control my emotions and I get to control how I respond to people so that my message is clearly heard. Another thought that I really had was initially is I don't really get to control this pain that I feel, but I do get to control whether I put in the work to heal, whether I'm willing to get up and do the acts of self-care that I know aid me in my healing process. I get to control if I go to counseling or I don't go to counseling. I get to control trying to control my thoughts. I struggled a lot in the beginning because, you feel in the beginning when someone asks you for a divorce or if you feel like you had to leave for some reason, your marriage, you feel lost. Part of your identity oftentimes has been wrapped up in being a spouse and being a husband or being a wife. And that part of your identity is being removed from you, and maybe not by your choice. You may have no control over that. But what I do have control over is who do I want to be? If I don't have that with me anymore, if I don't have that title with me anymore, that responsibility with me anymore, I get to choose what I want to be. I get to choose to put my time and energy into things that are going to help me. So another way that really came to help me was, once I hired an attorney, I couldn't worry a lot about the outcome of the divorce. That was my attorney's job. I was paying my attorney to do that. I trusted that I selected a good attorney. It was their job to negotiate and get me the best settlement that was fair to everyone. That, now I had input into that, but I couldn't worry about it. One of the things I realized in my divorce process is I had only so much. There's only so much time in a day. There's only so much emotional and physical energy that I have. And especially if when I was dealing with depression and some of those things, you're really tapped. I mean, I was very tapped. I felt that very strongly. So what energy I had left for the day, emotional or mental or whatever, because you still have to work, you still have to care for children. There are certain things that have to get done. I could not waste the little bit of energy that I had, emotional and mental, on worrying. I just didn't have it in me because that was like setting money on fire. It did no good for anyone. But if I took that same energy and I put it into meditation, if I took that same energy and I put it into, again, going to counseling, or, oftentimes my counselor would give me like homework to do, things to work on for self-care or self-soothing or whatever the case may be, my time was far better spent doing the things that were going to heal me. And the best part of that is that compounds. So a little bit of work today and a little bit of work tomorrow and a little bit of work the next day that I was choosing to put into myself, I was choosing it because I could control that. That was one of the few things I could control, turned into major gains later. It's like putting money into a savings account and the interest starts compounding. It takes time to see that, but it does happen. But that all came down to me figuring out, what can I control? What can't I control? And if I can't control it, I am putting no emotional or mental energy into it because I cannot control it no matter how much I want to. And on the other side of that equation, what I can control, whatever energy I put into it, and I should say, trying to be wise with that energy, but using that energy, it pays major dividends later. One of the pitfalls that I've seen also with others, and I learned this lesson actually before my divorce, so I didn't have to learn it, but I've seen when a spouse feels that they have been horribly wronged by their former spouse. And so then the hurt spouse, let's say they go to either church authorities and say, hey, my spouse did X, Y, and Z. And that what they did was very hurtful. But then they spend so much of their energy and time worrying about seeing that spouse gets justice, which is out of their hands at that point. They have no control. I mean, once you've reported it, you've reported it. There's no control left for you. None at all. That is between the church authorities, that is between the Lord and that individual. And as long as you've reported it and, hey, you lay out the facts, here are the facts, and this is how I feel about it, you've done your part. You can't worry about it anymore. And I'm going to tell you, you will waste so much energy. And I've seen it happen to several people. So much energy, and then that wasted energy very easily turns into bitterness and, let's just say, a lot of other work that by learning to not let that go, because you have no control over it, so you got to let it go. But by holding on to it, it just becomes a cesspool for hate, for bitterness, and continued anger, which you didn't have to go through. You put yourself through because you would not let it go and put your energy into the things that you actually had control over. I've seen it happen a lot. So that was a lesson that I took very quickly early into my divorce process. I knew that whatever wrongs I felt had happened to me in this divorce process, once I told the right authorities, it was over. I had no control, couldn't worry about it anymore. Sometimes outcomes hurt. Sometimes you think something more should have happened, but oh well, that's between that person and the Lord. My job is to worry about me, and my job is to worry about the person that I want to become, that I'm working to become. And again, that's where the dividends are truly paid. Now, none of this is to say that you ignore your emotions and that you don't heal the emotional pain. What I'm actually saying here is, because I've had this conversation with a few people and they misconstrue it a little bit. What I'm saying is you put your energy into healing that pain. You put your energy into changing your mindset, strengthening yourself so that you can heal in this process. So that again is the most powerful lesson I think that I have learned through this whole process. I only can control so much. I put my energy into that. If I can't control it, I do not waste energy on it because it pays no dividends and in fact probably leads to more hurt than anything else. Anyways, my name's Josh. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This channel is not endorsed by the church. My thoughts are my own. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I've just been through a divorce. I've learned some lessons along the way. I know I have a lot more to learn. But I hope by sharing some of my experiences, it helps you too. Thanks for coming to my channel.